Okay.
All right. We have kicked that start button, and the computer didn't immediately burst into flames, so I guess we'll get going here. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Sunday afternoon gaming session here at Sound Goblin Gaming with our Super Robot Sundays as we continue our playthrough of SD Gundam G Generation Genesis, and Christ, that title never gets easier to say. I am, as always, Bograt.
I'm Krampus.
I'm Shiv.
And I'm Vincent.
And today we're going to get started playing Mobile Suit Gundam Battlefield Record UC 0081. I am not as familiar with this as I am with basically literally everything else in this game. I've never played the game or read the manga for this one. I know a handful of things about it. We just kind of had a little bit of a discussion beforehand with our other sort of resident Gundam expert about it. This was originally a PS3 game, which also explains why nobody played it. And
of course, they're too busy playing the greater Gundam game on PS3, Gundam Crossfire.
However,
A game so great that you refuse to sell it to people.
Correct.
However, this particular scenario set and just in general, so they did a manga adaptation of 0081 called The Wrath of Varuna. And that is generally significantly more well received than the game was. And that's also what this is updating or sort of adapting here is the Wrath of Varuna version of events. Specifically because the original game, so this all takes place 2 years after Aboaku. So the war is officially over, but obviously there's a lot of Zeon remnants around that still don't accept that and still, want to destroy the Earth Federation and so on and so forth. Thing is, there are some canon conflicts with the events of 0081, because we do actually have a fairly decent canonical record of things that took place between, say, the end of the 1 Year War and, like, Zeta, which is sort of the next major canonical series. We know what happened through a lot of that time period, and there are some events that took place in the original game for 0081 that do not match up with the things we know about, basically. So it actually got a pretty poor reception, even among Japanese fans, where the PS3 had a much higher, market base, and also where, like, the game was released, because it didn't get a Western release at all. But yeah, the Japanese Gundam fan base does not actually like 0081 all that much, at least the game, just because it kind of fucks up the timeline and doesn't really mesh well. The big things about 0081 are outside of, MSVs, which are for all intents and purposes just kind of art books full of concept sketches. 0081 is the first canonical appearance for the 7th Gundam. It's the first canonical appearance for the G-Line, and it's the first canonical appearance for the Ifrit Nacht. So we'll actually be seeing those through the course of this. This part here I'm not paying too much attention to because it's mostly just going over
This is talking about the end of the war.
Yeah. I will say, as I've commented to kind of others in the group when commenting earlier when we were just talking about it before stream, the specific thing that I do know about 0081 is it does have the Federation unit with the single best squadron emblem in all of UC Gundam. Phantom Sweep Corps, which is the Federation team, just has an absolutely fucking kick-ass emblem.
Which we will hopefully see at some point.
It'll probably be on some of their units, I would imagine, but
If they did unit versions of this stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't been introduced to them in the plot yet. They're still talking about the backstory and the Invisible Knights.
yes, the Invisible Knights, whose emblem looked like it came from a fucking Persona game.
Persona 6, Invisible Knights.
Yeah, they shoot themselves in the head to some of those authors.
But yeah. Phantom Sweep Corps emblem.
Yeah.
Is incredibly fucking badass. It's like a skull with a stylized PS on it. smoking a, like, grenade that's putting out a little, like, ghost flame that looks very upset with its lot in life. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah.
No, now that I look at it, like up close on a larger view like this, I think that might be supposed to be a colony in the mouth of the skull.
I think that is supposed to be a colony.
Yeah.
It's got the two fins.
Like fin thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So their plan is to smoke out a colony. It's worked well in the past.
Well, it worked well for Xeon.
Hey, smoke weed every day.
Things that don't come up often enough to actually have on the soundboard.
Yeah, we don't often get images of a
Smoking
giant
smoking
skull.
smoking a giant
colony.
steel blunt.
Vaping, thank you.
E-cigar. Thinking fucking Metal Gear Solid 5.
Rolf. You guys firing a mass driver at the Earth was not going to make a difference in the war.
No, you didn't lose because the Invisible Knights failed their mission. You lost because you ran out of resources. I'm not owned, Eric Blank says. He turns into a corn cob. Come in, Invisible Knights. This is Tatiana. I have landed at designated drop point, codename Detroit. I think we should stop. The Earthnoids have it way worse than we do.
There's nothing we can do to this place that won't make it better.
Yeah, I love how you somehow RoboCop has turned into a utopian vision for
Detroit's
Detroit.
future, yeah.
I'd buy that for a hyperinflated dollar.
Crystal Doer. Crystal Doer would not make it to Earth.
I prefer to think of it as the Earth won't make it to Christo Doer.
I mean, yeah, she's in Detroit. Should be worried.
By the way, I'm also assuming that the fighting for the independence of space noids is basically bullshit Xeon propaganda akin to Asia for the Asians in the Pacific Theater.
Okay, so again, this comes
Where
down to this
comes down to exactly the difference between the foot troops and the people at the top, effectively, which is kind of the same thing that happened in the Pacific Theater.
Yeah, exactly. It is a significant amount of the soldiers of Xeon were legitimately fighting for the independence of the space noids. The Zabi family did not give a flying fuck. The Zabi family wanted the space noids free to be ruled by them.
Yeah. So again, a kid to Imperial Japan. Yeah. Only with, quite frankly, worse behavior at the bottom as well.
Yeah, it's just like, how dare you Western cultures attempt to control and influence Asia? Asia must be free under our rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a incredibly stark and direct comparison that somehow the fan base doesn't seem to pick up on.
The worst part is it was actually a good selling point to those areas for 5 minutes because it's a pretty legitimate point. And then they had to actually live with the Japanese near them, who behaved like complete asshats, to say the least.
And yeah, the sort of main protagonist on the Fetty side is Hughes Courand, who has some fucking serious ass PTSD.
In fairness, if this was ever in my mental images, I would have some serious ass PTSD. What the fuck is going on with this picture?
I mean, this is a nightmare in his
I
heart,
know,
but this
but
is,
yeah.
Yeah, no, he was the only remaining survivor from a company that got wiped out in an operation to drive Xeon forces out of North America. They succeeded in driving them out, but literally the entire rest of his company got eliminated.
And then they basically did a whole BR thing to make him look like a hero.
Yeah.
So he has Gundam protagonist issues, you say?
Even more so than usual, especially because he's also incredibly disillusioned with the Federation because of this whole thing. He basically, being somebody who essentially was used as a propaganda tool by the Federation, he's well aware of how absolute bullshit Federation propaganda is.
Yeah.
Like, I know a bit about the character of Hughes Courand because for a while, I was in I was going to be taking part in a tabletop RPG based on sort of the Gundam universe, and as part of my character's backstory, he was actually childhood friends with Hughes Courand, and so I did some research into that, just to kind of give some sort of tie into canonical stuff to let the GM work with and make connections, but and yeah, it's interesting because again we run into this thing where it's bizarre, where the Phantom Sweep Corps is considered like an elite Black Ops special forces unit, but also a bunch of people got assigned here because they were like, you fucked up in your previous command. It's sort of a fail forward unit where they were like, oh, this guy decked his superior officer. Normally we would throw him in deep hole, never heard from again prison because we're totally the good guys. But that kind of initiative could be useful in a Black Ops team.
This team of war hero, only survivor of their unit, guy who punched officer, and test pilot, I'm sure will do fine.
I mean, Hughes actually got put here, to my understanding, kind of as a promotion thing. That was the whole thing. It's still part of the whole PR where they're like, yes, this, the great hero of
Yeah, the
Operation
great war hero
41.
of
We're putting him in
41.
charge of this elite unit.
Yep.
And then it's like, this elite unit is comprised of fuck up A and fuck up B.
No, I mean, test pilot's not a fuck up. You're just a test pilot.
It's literally never seen combat.
Correct.
Can't possibly end poorly.
You have fuck up who punched someone, guy who lived, and person who's never fought before.
That being said, if I remember correctly, Cherie there, the test pilot, specifically is the test pilot for the G line.
So, do we get any details exactly where this kind of breaks canon in the original video game? Or
So this is going to break canon less again, because like I said, this is actually based off of the Wrath of Varuna adaptation rather than the original game storyline, which fixes a lot of those plot inconsistencies. The biggest thing is, and it's honestly not a whole lot of anything we've really run into, it's just a matter of there are certain events that we know take place in like 0081 that conflict with the events of the original game. It's not anything we've seen in here because it's all from other sort of side story sources that aren't adapted in this game, but
okay, that makes sense then.
they are... So the big thing about Gundam canon is sort of a tricky beast in that there's different sort of levels of canonicity to anything that is anime for Gundam. So any of the anime series, the OVAs, the movies, anything like that. The only things that are firmly 100% canon are the other things that have been animated. Unless they specifically mention something within one of those animes that's not from a given anime, any side story stuff, anything that's happened elsewhere is considered non-canon or at least loosely canon at best. That being said, then you go to things like manga. Manga, again, tend to have sort of an internally consistent canon, wherein most of the things that have been adapted into full-scale manga, at least, like there's a few that have been like one-shots or like a single volume manga, those can be sort of shifty, but anything that's gotten a significant manga release of more than like a single volume is generally held consistently to be canon with everything else that is in that same realm of manga. And then video games, for the most part, try to do their best to maintain things from like the anime canon and the manga canon if it's tied to anything like that, but very typically like just kind of do their own thing, either in the sense that anything that happens in a given video game doesn't really matter whether it's canon or not because it's just kind of over here. Yeah. It's like in the long run, it doesn't matter that there were like 15 Gundams at Abawaku because like who gives a shit? Like it didn't, like it's not like one of these games was like, oh, the Federation actually lost at Abawaku and that's canon now. It's like, no, it fucking isn't. It's still like, yes, the Federation still won at Abawaku. Abawaku is this massive space battle. Who's to say that there wasn't somewhere off in a wholly different quadrant of that battle, the 4th and 5th Gundams fighting? Like,
yeah,
we don't fucking know. Like, with what we saw in 0079 of Al-Bawaku and like, the flashbacks to like Solomon and all this stuff from various other anime sources, like we see these very microscopic views.
Exclusively what the 78 is doing.
Yeah. In 79, we see exclusively what Amuro and the White Base crew are doing, and they were a very small part of that battle. Like, obviously, like
there were like tons and tons of ships there and teams there fighting.
Yeah.
It wasn't just White Base and nothing else.
Yeah, any of these major battles, it's like, I mean, I'm not trying to argue that it's not ridiculous that there were like legitimately, if you take everything as canon, there were legitimately like 7 Gundams fighting at Abawaku and Solomon. That's ridiculous, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't really matter.
No.
The big thing is that like my understanding of it, again, with the caveat that I have not actually played the game myself, I have not read the manga myself. My understanding is that 0081 changes the canonicity for certain events that are impactful in the future of the UC, specifically in things that happen in like Zeta and Double Zeta. I believe a lot of it has to do with the sort of organization of Xeon remnants and what eventually led to the formation of Neo Xeon. But again, in the long run, it doesn't matter a whole lot. It's not like they're trying to claim like, oh, this game is 100% canon and like has to be accepted as canon by everybody. It's just very much like it annoys the fans because they're like, you know, we can like the story, but then that makes us have to like try and reconcile weird shit that can't have happened.
Yeah.
It is actually pretty impressive for the most part how much Gundam sort of side content does tend to actually stick to canon pretty well. Obviously, there's some times where things end up later on kind of being shoved out of canon because, you know, a new anime comes out or something new gets animated and they modify this, that, or the other from the original story from the mangas or whatever. And so it makes other things not necessarily work in canon. But as long as things existed prior to a particular like side work being made, side works tend to be pretty internally consistent, which is pretty impressive for a series with as much content and that has lived as long as Gundam has. It's like there's very few series where you can like, even series that like have full on like design bibles and like, hey, there's nothing good. Like Star Trek fucks up its canon all the time and is honestly the only really like comparable series I can think of to this. The only other one I would say that has the same sort of like pedigree and sort of length would be like something like Doctor Who, but at the same time Doctor Who specifically
deals with timey-wimey bullshit.
Yeah, Doctor Who specifically from the very outset was like canon is whatever the fuck we say it is because a Time Lord changed it, fuck off.
I think in like part of the most recent series they've now referenced events that haven't literally occurred in the series yet, because they just don't care. It's like,
it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And like they've literally have had that happen in the past where they referenced events that would happen in the future, except then something later on in the series happens that makes it so that the events that they reference that happen in the future could not possibly happen. And they're just like, it's the timeline, man.
Whatever.
Fucking shit happens. Like, get on with it. And then they've also like established canonical rules about like weird shit about like there being problems with a Time Lord going to the like same time and place multiple times and like it like breaks the space-time continuum and then they do it like a dozen times.
They don't care.
Yeah, as far as ones that try and actually maintain a consistent canonicity but violate it all the fucking time, like Star Trek is the only one I can think of that's like comparable in scope and length and the amount of like side material and all this shit that like equivalent to Gundam. And like Gundam really does handle it way better. Like they are generally very careful to make sure that if they are dealing with things that could impact canon, that they maintain canonicity, and that if they are dealing with things or like they make sure that like whatever we're doing can't actually directly interact with the normal canon, so it can just easily be considered canon because it's fucking over here. It's like you get something like say like Gundam Thunderbolt, which, you know, before it was, you know, made into an anime and therefore became anime canon. It was events taking place, at least the first part of it was events taking place during the 1 Year War, but it was out here in like Mua, or Moor, depending on what translation you want to go with. This, you know, colony cluster that had been destroyed and was out here, and we literally never fucking did anything with. In like anything. And so they were like, yeah, we just can fucking do whatever we want out here because we're literally like on the opposite side of the Earth sphere from literally anything else that's ever taken place during the 1 Year War. So we just get to do whatever the fuck we want.
Do we have any other extra objectives on this one?
Let me pull up the list. I don't believe so. Or if we do, it's something incredibly minor.
So what was the extra objective?
Destroy everything without having any ally units destroyed.
0081.
We can't lose Andy's fucking trucks because they're not going to destroy people.
Okay, the only thing is we get a bronze mod if we do it in 7 turns. Which is like one of those, like, if we can do it, we'll do it. If not, it's not the end of the fucking world.
A lot of enemies do it in 7 turns. With like 4 units.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a bronze mod. I don't think we care if we miss it.
Also, you have like 3 gems. And
I have 3 gems and a lava truck.
Yeah, so what we've got here, actual like mission-wise, there's that one for this. Unlocking Hilda Nietzsche and Figli and Estelle as pilots is a mission in the next turn, in the next scenario. And I think we basically have a special one in each one, but they're all for pilots. So, with the exception of one on the last one that's for a gold mod. Which is specifically to clear that mission within 10 turns, but that should not be an issue. I don't think we've ever had a mission go beyond 10 turns unless we specifically were stalling for something.
This doesn't help. I can't even attack them for the first like 2 turns. They're so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, also technically across the entirety of this, we have a thing for maxing Hugh's get gauge, except I think we may have already bypassed that. Because I think that's the 7th Gundam, and pretty sure we built that at some point, or developed into it or whatever.
We're currently fielding the 7th Gundam, actually. But something full armor.
Yeah.
Yep. He managed to kill himself by attacking. Got it.
Now again, like as we've discussed, that's actually pretty typical. Most of the kills in this game, and in Super Robot Wars for that matter, do come on counters. Yeah, it looks like, as far as I can tell, how it essentially works out is we get, with the exception of Hughes, we get all of the Phantom Sweep folks, just as the regular, like, mission completion one, and then all of the Invisible Knights are, like, special things in 2, 3, and 4.
彼らも撃ってくる。ならば、撃たなければ。
I think one of the things that Gundam does, we were having that conversation about how you can have 7 different storylines aimed at
Abalku, and doesn't really...
And with conflicts there. And I think it's because a lot of Gundam is content to let their own stories be contained and not... They'll be at major events, but not interact with other parts of that major event. Like you mentioned Star Trek as a counterexample. And Star Trek keeps wanting to have people show up at certain events.
And like go like fucking high-five Picard or Cisco or something.
They want somebody to be at the Battle of Wolf 359, and they want them to interact with Riker or Hughes or whatever, or other stuff like that. They want them to be important to those battles.
Yeah, whereas like Gundam is perfectly content to have their protagonists be like, who the fuck is Amuro Ray?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, what's a white base?
Almost none of the stories that we've done or that we know about just from being Gundam things interact with each other unless they're supposed to be direct continuations. Like Zeta interacts with stuff from 007 because that's billed as
it's the mainline story. Yeah. No, I definitely can see what you're saying there. Yeah, that is a big thing where like a lot of times it is that impetus to be like, oh, well, we need to strongly connect it to what's going on. So we need to like reference and like be there and like deal with characters that our, fan base are familiar with. And it's like,
yeah.
Admittedly, even though they do it some amount, that's kind of what I actually really like tying into the Star Trek thing. That's what I really like about Lower Decks is it does not give a flying fuck about any of the other like canonical Star Trek stuff. They're like Riker shows up and is also mostly treated as a colossal moron fuckboy, which is really funny. But like, yeah, it's very disconnected from
Exactly.
the rest of Trek. Like it takes place obviously in the same universe, and occasionally will like throw in a reference to things here or there that have happened, but doesn't try to be like, oh yeah, like we're gonna go like, Admiral Janeway. It's like, no, like they're off here. They're fucking second contact mission specialists. Yeah, no, Gundam is very much a case of, they do try and, with the exception of like, oh, this is like an experimental Gundam specifically designed to meet like Amuro Ray's specs. Like that's about the most you usually get interacting with 0079 stuff. The actual stories themselves do tend to sort of breathe on their own, or at worst, interact with other side story stuff. For example, like Missing Link, where it interacts with the Blue Destiny stuff. But that's also because, in a way, Missing Link is kind of directly connected to Blue Destiny because you have the whole Hades system, which was specifically developed from the exam system, which is the whole thing of Blue Destiny.
Yeah, like they
and so they're like at one point they interact with the people from Blue Destiny, and they're like, "Hey, this thing is fucked up," and they're like, "That sounds kind of like the exam system, but like hyperactive. Like that's fucked up. Here's all the info we have on it, I guess." Yeah. And they're like, "Yeah, here's like the tech that was like working on the exam system." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's the Hades system. They asked me to come work on it," and I was like, "That's unethical as shit." I say, working on a system that keeps the soul of a new type trapped in a computer.
She's not using it anymore.
The soul of the computer.
She wakes up at the end of Blue Destiny. After basically all the exam system units are destroyed.
And she was asleep. She's not using her soul.
Yeah, the only time really that any sort of side story stuff or whatever that, does sort of interact with a main character is typically when it is a side story specifically focused on a major character of some sort, such as like Char's deleted affair or things like that.
Good thing he walked into Shanky.
Came into the wrong neighborhood.
And even then, a lot of those do tend to be, now that I think about it, they sort of fall into that realm of like, this could be canon, but it doesn't really fucking matter, so who cares? Even though it is dealing with major characters, they don't necessarily do anything to the character or character development that would break away from kind of what's established there.
Yeah, like pushing the button to make it canon or not makes no difference in the grand scheme of things for either that character or the events that happen to them.
Yeah. Like, Char's deleted affair actually does a pretty good job of explaining where the whole Quattro Vagina thing came from, essentially. Like, not the actual, like, oh, this is why I'm going to call myself Quattro Vagina and all that kind of stuff, but more to the sense of, like, at the end of 79, you kind of get the feeling like, okay, like Char has defeated the Zabi family, so doesn't really have any problems with the doesn't really have problems with the Zeon. He has problems with the Zabis, so now he's gonna go like fuck off and like, hang out with Zeon and kind of do shit there. And he does, and then some shit happens, and that's how you find out when he's like, okay, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna go join A. Hello, I am Quinto Bloaca.
So, as an aside, yeah, these things are ridiculously energy efficient compared to what I'm used to seeing happen.
Because they don't have silly weapons. They have a beam rifle and a beam saber.
Yeah, so they're all making like 3 attacks per attack.
Yeah, their weapons use like 12 energy.
14 for the beam rifle and 12 for the saber.
Yeah. Which makes the like 12 or the 7 turn thing make more sense.
Yeah, like, no, granted, like, they don't have massive energy pools either, because they're pretty baseline grunt units, but they're much more efficient. Yeah, they're healing a decent amount every round and have much more efficient weapons. They're not like the fucking like GPO3, which literally uses more than half its energy bar to fire the atomic bazooka. Or GPO2, yeah.
I mean, it's an outlier.
Yeah. Sorry, right. GPO3 is dumb booty space station.
But yeah, that is an interesting variance on what I'm used to seeing in this game.
I mean, strictly speaking, we could absolutely have that too with the units we field. We just specifically choose to field utterly ridiculous units.
Like, we could field a bunch of, like, line grunt suits that don't have super...
Well, we don't even necessarily have to field a bunch of line grunt suits that don't have super expensive stuff. There are more than just regular grunt suits, but aren't, like, Deep Striker and, like, full armor 7th Gundam and, like, Kshatriya repaired and stuff like that. Like, we actually have a few units in our group that are decently energy efficient. They're just not our big hitter, so they don't get noticed as much.
Yeah, because the one that goes out there, swings and does a shot that costs like 12 and then doesn't kill a unit, doesn't spend energy as quickly as the one that blows through like 5 units, spending 25.
Yeah, because it doesn't get its full press turn capacity every turn.
Yeah, and if it doesn't have other units of a similar type to support it, it's not really like yeah.
Like the big one, the big one that I would say honestly is actually our unicorn units are actually pretty decent energy efficiency wise.
Because they have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And also fairly energy efficient. I mean, I tend to start them off firing the beam magnums to make sure they can get one shots, which costs like 35 energy. But once like Amuro gets like high vigor or whatever, I can just use the beam Gatling, which I think is like 20, and that'll basically one shot pretty much anything at that point.
Exactly.
And it has like 200 some odd energy, so it can actually stay out there for a while.
Yep. Yeah, the unicorn units, the full armor unicorn, the Banshee Norn, and the Phoenix that we're running out there, they're all actually pretty decent about that energy efficiency wise. Like the amount one attack takes compared to their actual energy capacity is, I would say, I'd put it on near the same level as like the gyms and stuff that we can see here.
Yeah, they're at least as, if not more efficient. So the only exception is the beam magnums, which is like 35.
Yeah. Trying to think what else we actually feel.
Main gun, or the Deep Striker's smart gun, which I use for most stuff that isn't a ship, is only 25, and it has like 200 some on energy, so it's actually relatively okay.
Yeah. Again, we actually do have a fair amount of energy efficiency. We just don't care most of the time because we're also restoring like 5% energy per round.
5, 10, 15, depending on what's on a given unit.
Yeah. So like it's kind of a
It matters more when you're making like 5 or 6 attacks in a round effectively.
Yeah, it does. The energy efficiency is also much more important early on when you don't have units that can just basically like rush through and one-shot everything.
Yeah.
So you're doing a lot more like big group support attacks to take out things.
Yeah, if you actually go back and review the footage from when we were first starting and doing like the 0079 stuff and a few, the first 2 or 3 scenarios,
it's a lot of
we were definitely
clusters.
doing like we would have people traveling like groups of 3 or 4 units to be able to do support attacks and shit like that. And then eventually we started getting the units that are like far outstripping anything we're facing, and at that point we're just like, fuck it, who cares? Like at this point we are basically set on units up until probably CCA.
Because like what you're saying right now is we have a bunch of power units that can basically solo anything that's out here.
Yeah.
As opposed to earlier on, and so like most space fights and whatnot take like 2 or 3 turns. Compared to early on, where it's like, okay, we're going to wipe out like these 5 or 6 units and then wait for more stuff to come in. We're not going to daff one guy halfway through the enemy army.
Okay, so 2 questions. Is that the Ifrit Noct?
Yes.
Okay, other question. Are they inevitably going to repair / upgrade / whatever this in order for it to be captured by Xeon forces later?
I don't remember, actually. I think the Ifrit Noct might actually be a Fetty suit.
Oh, okay.
Because the only other Ifrit we deal with is the
in the cutscene.
But that's not until
no, Ifrit Noct is listed on the 0081 page as the
a Xeon suit.
As a Xeon suit.
In the cutscene there, they're specifically talking about our mission is to go capture the Ifrit Noct
Yeah.
and steal it. And then later, when the Federation guys are talking, they're specifically saying, like, oh yeah, this thing was built on the previous idiosyncrasies, but we're going to retrofit it and get it working in no time. So yes, you are correct that they are fixing it. Basically,
Fixing it up so the Xeon can steal it.
Okay, good. Just making sure this plot is as predictable as it looks.
Yeah, again, keeping in mind, I don't actually know a lot of the plot points of 0081.
I'm just
Yeah.
going off what they're saying here.
Yeah.
So did they build the original Ifrit into the Schneid, or did they build the Noct into
So-
the Schneid?
There were 16 Ifrits, actually.
So I assume they
Or 8, rather. 8 Ifrit units. Okay.
I'm just wondering if the Schneid is built from one of the earlier other, or one of the ones we've already seen, or if it's just a one we haven't seen that's built from
The Ifrit Schneid is built from Doug Schneid's Ifrit.
Okay, so it's built from Doug Schneid's Ifrit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that is the same Ifrit.
And that-
Basically, Doug Schneid leaves his Ifrit to Fred Raber, who has it rebuilt into the Ifrit Schneid.
So he can show up during Unicorn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Ifrit Noct is specifically one of the 8 Ifrit units produced, transferred to Odessa during the 1-year war, extensively modified under the order of Makuve, which made it became a stealth and night combat suit, giving it the designation Ifrit Noct. When Xeon was defeated during Operation Odessa, they left the Ifrit Noct behind, and it was captured by the Federation. They used the stealth technology from the Ifrit Noct to develop the Blue Destiny Unit 1 stealth system. And yes, the Invisible Knights specifically deployed to go attack Odessa base in order to get the Ifrit Noct. So it is worth noting, this is not like oh, we just captured this, we're retrofitting it. It's been sitting here for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
It was left behind during the 1-year war.
So the Ifrits were originally developed by a Xeon company?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. The Ifrits, I believe, specifically are Xeonic.
Unlikely. They share design elements with these Aku and other stuff that's Xeonic suits, so I assume it's them.
I believe, based on their designation being MS-08, yeah, I'm pretty sure they are Xeonic. Oh, no, they're actually Xeon Earth Attack Force. They were actually developed by the Xeon military, specifically.
Yeah, because they're basically ground specialized close combat. Or ground lock close combat.
Combat units.
Yeah.
No, all the ones that we see are ground close combat units. None that we see any in space or.
They're not space units. They are specifically ground combat units.
Yeah.
The base Ifrit is specifically designated as a limited production close quarters combat ground mobile suit. The Noct is designated as a prototype close quarters combat ground mobile suit because, again, it was adapted specifically for stealth purposes.
Missions, yeah.
The Ifrit Schneid is specifically a custom exam system close quarters combat ground mobile suit. And then the exam Ifrit custom. Actually, I think I might have misclicked there. Yeah, sorry. Ifrit Schneid is custom close quarters combat ground mobile suits because, again, it's just a customized Ifrit. And then the exam Ifrit obviously is the exam system test unit.
Okay, so we need one of the guest units specifically to destroy.
Yeah, we need the leader who had the gas units to kill her. That won't be hard.
And yeah, as came up during Blue Destiny, the exam system was initially developed by Xeon, hence why the first exam unit is the Ifrit.
Okay.
And then the scientists essentially defected from Xeon to the Federation with the exam system, and that's why all the Blue Destinies are like gyms and then a Gundam. Yeah, for once it wasn't just them stealing the technology. The scientists actually defected.
Why didn't scientists defect in this case? End of the 1 Year War, or
Oh no, this was Blue Destiny takes place during the 1 Year War.
Okay.
I don't remember offhand. I'm pretty sure it was just straight up like, oh, we realized how fucked up Xeon are.
Okay. Although that's kind of mildly ironic.
I do legitimately think it was partially, yeah, we really thought about the fact that we basically have a comatose new type in a fucking tube that we shoved her consciousness into a computer and realized that the people that asked us to do this are probably kind of fucked up. Want the computer?
One of the most alien-looking forces you could have possibly deployed is literally a flying saucer in a weird-ass suit.
Okay, that's specifically because the Ashmar is in mobile armor form. It has a regular, like...
I know it does, but it's, yeah.
I mean, granted, its mobile suit form also looks fucking weird and, like, very rounded and domey and shit, but...
I assume because of the curves and everything that it's a Xeon suit as well, or akin to.
The Ashmar, I think, is Titans? I kind of don't remember, actually.
I don't remember either.
Give me a second to go look it up. Yeah, it's a Titan suit.
Okay.
Alright, which actually shows this thing off.
Yeah, it is actually made by the Oakland Research Institute for the Earth Federation Forces.
Oh yeah, that thing that we spent like
Silver Bolt suppressor.
Yeah.
Or Silver Bolt,
Pin funnels.
Pin funnels.
yeah.
Yeah, so this one, rather than having the like wire-guided incom system, has actual psychonic funnels.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ashamar is... Yeah, so one of the things to kind of keep in mind to a certain extent is that the sort of designs you're thinking of, the reason why you think that the design looks funky is because primarily what you're used to seeing as Federation Forces suits are things like, you know, Jims and Gundam and things like that. That's all actually specifically Anaheim Electronics design, not necessarily Federation design. So any Federation, like, and granted, the vast majority of Federation mobile suits are either designed directly by Anaheim Electronics or the Federation stole Anaheim Electronics designs and made their own, because that happens sometimes too. But yeah, the Federation does have some of its own unique designs that do not actually look like Anaheim designs.
Let's ship this plane.
Yep. Do what it did.
Because yeah, that looks very distinctly kind of Xeonic in design, but it makes sense if it's made by one of the other manufacturers that...
Well, this was specifically made by the actual Federation military.
The
Ashmar? Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. This was actually made specifically by the Oakland Research Institute, which was a division of the Earth Federation Air Force, of all things. It was actually developed off of all things, a suit they don't like to talk about too much because there was a lawsuit involved.
So I actually went and looked it up, the exact, like, circumstances surrounding the defection of the scientist in Blue Destiny. So basically what it is the guy who was designing the system gradually... He tried to make a computer that was going to be on par with new types.
Right.
Over the course of his research, he went a little crazy and decided that new types were a new type of evolution that was specifically designed to combat old types, aka that the new
Regular
types were going to rise up and kill old types. And so his research started slanting into trying to make a computer that could beat new types so that old types would have a chance. When his research was hitting a dead end at the Flanagan Institute, he just defected to the Federation to continue his research.
Yeah. So the Astromar, strictly speaking, is developed out of this thing here, which is known as the Gundam GT4. Which you may look at that and be like, well, I don't get it. Like, why would there be a lawsuit about that? Well, you see, this was a prototype transformable mobile suit.
I know where this is going. I know where this is going because so many people copied that design.
Which, by which I mean, so that was it in G mode.
Yeah, okay.
Here it is in F mode. Definitely not a Garewalk from Macross. And just in case that was too subtle for you, here it is in B mode, which is certainly not it transforming into a full-on fighter. Like Veritech's Macross.
Yeah.
So they try not to talk too much about the GT4, but the GT4, if I remember correctly, is canonically the first developed transformable mobile suit. So anything in the future that has a transformable capability, like the Zeta Gundam or whatever, owes, like in universe, owes its design elements, at least the transformable part, to the GT4.
So you know that meme of like, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just change it a little bit so it doesn't look too much, and then the end result is looks exactly like the former thing. So many things do that to Macross.
It is worth noting that GT4 is an acronym. It stands for Gundam Transformer Flight and Operations Unifications Reactors.
So literally the 4 is an acronym.
As is GT. GT
Yeah.
is a Gundam
Well,
Transformer.
GT you would assume is an acronym, but
Yes.
it's more the 4 part being an acronym. That's nonsense.
I'd say this is overkill, but I don't care.
That Magellan attack knew what it did.
Such
Okay.
devastation! This was not my
Get at least one every
intention.
season, episode.
Yep. Oh, the rest of the pilot survived.
He did.
For now, he'll die like several years later of cancer.
Or right now, Beam Saber.
Oh no,
Right through the
my
cockpit.
family. Some more precious energy on this thing.
Although I will say, actually using nuclear weapons in space is nowhere near as unethical. This is the moon. It's already a radiated fuck pile.
Well, this is Earth.
Never mind.
Yeah, this is on Earth.
This is on Earth.
Yeah, this is, again, this is them assaulting Odessa base to try and capture the Afrik Nacht.
Never mind. This is still a war crime. But yes, outside of the actual like yield, I guess being unconventional and maybe not, depending on Gundam weaponry. Nuclear weapons in space, there's nothing to irradiate. It's already irradiated.
Yeah, no, this is specifically, I believe, this is in Ukraine.
Okay, yeah.
This is in Odessa.
Ah.
Because I'm pretty sure they're not, like, ironically naming Odessa base or anything. I'm pretty sure it's called Odessa base because it's in Odessa.
Considering they tend to actually just do that.
Yeah. Like, to their credit, Gundam does actually do a pretty decent job of, like, putting the Federation bases on Earth in
Places
less,
that
like-
actually exist and using real world names.
Well, places that actually exist and using real world names, but also in like places that aren't like, it's not like, oh, London base or like, oh, like, you know, shit like that. It's like Dakar and Jaburo and Odessa. It's these kind of like, not like super obscure, but slightly more obscure cities that people don't typically think about.
Places where you would actually expect military bases to be, because you don't put military bases
In huge urban
San Diego.
Yeah, you put it in places like San Diego. When they put the military bases here, we were not a huge urban center.
No.
That's fair.
No, if anything, we became a huge urban center because we had the military bases here.
Yeah,
At least
Camp
partially.
Pendleton was literally put in the middle of nowhere, and it remains in the middle of nowhere only because they refused to
Yes, only
release
because they
any
refused
part
anyone
of it.
in the land. Yes.
Yes.
To their credit, part of that refusal is not purely a like stubbornness thing. It is a like we can't guarantee there's not unexploded ordnance in that land.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. I think everyone in San Diego is perfectly fine with that being undeveloped.
In fact, man, I'm pretty sure lots of people like to develop all that beachfront property that's undeveloped.
Yeah, but no, like
I was talking about the residents, not the investors.
but yeah, like no, it is actually kind of interesting that they did actually like specifically do that because like again, like Federation headquarters is in fucking Dakar. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually
the only notable thing of Dakar normally is a huge fucking rally race. Like, other than that, nobody's ever fucking heard of Dakar. Like, or like Odessa, which is like, it's not like a small town in Ukraine by any means, but it's not like,
I mean, it's a port city, so.
but it's not like
Yeah.
Kiev. It's not like,
Yeah.
you know,
Not
one
the
of the like,
capital.
it's not the capital or like one of the really major cities of Ukraine.
I'm also impressed that you pronounced that correctly.
Oh, what, Kiev?
Yeah. It's this weirdness of no one can pronounce it correctly because either they're using the English pronunciation
Which is
or
Kiev, yeah.
or they're just shoving it as a one-syllable word of Kiev, which is
Kiev.
not correct either. But
that's a beautiful key.
No, I do my best to actually learn how to like pronounce things, especially when they're, for better or worse, currently involved in major world events. We're not going to go into because
no, because okay,
we have a stupid fake war to talk about, not a stupid real war.
yes. Even though this is probably one of the least controversial topics as far as that's concerned, strangely enough. But
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody earnestly trying to argue for the other side of that.
So
shit.
for the
No.
one who watches us,
Just put perspective in this.
if you are upset that we support
Ukraine.
that we support Ukraine in the Russian war against Ukraine, leave.
Yeah, we don't want you.
There you go. That's our statement.
take that, you fictitious people within a fictitious group. Exactly. Pretty much. So,
Yeah.
There goes our Russian audience.
some.
No,
of our
no, they don't.
There goes some of our Russian audience that doesn't exist.
But yeah, no, it's no like I put effort into learning how to pronounce things correctly when they're not, you know, English words or English terms or names of cities or whatever. Like, don't ask me to speak Ukrainian. I can't. But at least like the city names, I can learn how to say them.
No, Slavic languages in general are they pretty much escape me. It's granted, so do anything not English, but I am terrible with languages in general, including English.
But yeah, no, like
You guys are bad at your job. You literally just shot down his suit and he ran past all of you.
yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit, as far as like the Gundam stuff goes, the only reason I knew that I learned that Jaburo is a real actual place is because of Gundam.
I'm not gonna lie. Up until this very moment, I thought Jaburo and Odessa were just more nonsense names.
No, they're all real places.
Yeah, no, Jaburo is in.
So I knew Odessa was a real city, but up until he mentioned it, I didn't connect. Oh wait, that's actually the Odessa in Ukraine. Because a lot of Gundam does actually use real names for.
Yeah, I believe
place names for things.
Jaburo is somewhere in Brazil, I want to say. Like, there's not actually a place in real world called Jaburo, but it is based on an actual place, and I think it's Brazil. And then, Odessa is an actual city in Ukraine.
I learned more things. every day.
Dakar is Morocco? I'm gonna look it up so I can make sure to get that right. But
Well, Dakar,
Senegal is Dakar.
It was
Okay.
specifically Odessa and Sharm. But it's not.
That shit, I'm again not ashamed to admit, I cannot keep track of like West African nations.
It doesn't exactly help the fact that West Africa is not looked at a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in a positive or negative way. I mean, like, literally the eyes of world events to just have not been on West Africa recently. The closest thing is Libya, which is not even there.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things, like, especially as Americans, we don't get a whole lot of interaction with West Africa.
As Americans in general, we actually try to keep the fuck out of Africa. It's mostly aid and letting them solve their own problems as best we can.
Okay,
At this point
definitionally,
in
We're
history.
gonna lose this mission.
Bye, hover truck.
Yep.
You just lost this mission.
Yep,
Because that hover truck.
yep. Well, at least we know now.
Yep.
Move them forward. Got it.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think
We
it
should
might
retry
retry us
this
after the
anymore.
historic moment.
It
So
should.
there's that at least.
Yeah.
And if not, it's not like the first part was that long.
Yeah, so you were saying?
Yeah, I just like it's a definite because like technically there's like the Middle East and like Egypt, which is
Yeah.
sort of part of Africa. But at least the Middle East, it's
generally...
ill-defined. It's
Well, okay, so talking about Africa as a whole is kind of disingenuous in the first place because it's shoving a bunch of disparate regions and people into one place.
yeah, but
So
like
that's not entirely fair on my part in the first place.
But yeah, as far as actual like American involvement goes, we primarily are either the Middle East or sub-Saharan Africa is most of what we deal with at best.
Yeah.
So like, as I've said, I've done my best to educate myself, you know, better than the American school system does because we have a very
That's a low bar.
yeah we have an incredibly myopic view of what we should actually teach our children in America. But
And in fairness, world affairs is a stupidly broad topic.
yeah, you kind of have to take it a bit at a time and learn, you know, focuses here and there.
And if you try and do little smatterings of things here and there, you're inevitably going to run into problems of just oversimplifying things that shouldn't be oversimplified.
Yes,
It's
well, and
not an easy task to expect of anyone.
Yes, well, and the other unfortunate thing is, especially if you're trying to learn about, you know, historical world affairs in Africa,
Yeah.
a lot of the records are unfortunately from a bunch of British and French assholes.
And pre-British and French, the other issue being it depends on what civilization you're talking about, because not all of them believed in writing stuff down and
Yeah.
or had writing in the first place.
Yeah, so it can be kind of hard to learn some of this stuff in anything that even resembles an accurate way.
And even outside of the European asshattery, it's not like the Africans were perfectly peaceful and innocent people, quite frankly, and did destroy records of each other sometimes too.
Oh no, I'm not even beginning to claim that's not the case, but
Yeah.
there was quite a lot of some dipshit in a pith helmet showing up and going, but I don't understand. You're all brown. Aren't you all the same people? It's like,
Yeah.
dude, like, we're just gonna draw a border here, but that's literally like 6 different cultures. Nah, I don't think that's
6.
true.
That would be a small number if they drew a border. Only 6.
Yeah, it's like,
That'd be the other thing about Africa. It's ridiculously diverse to the point where I think there's like 300 languages.
something like that.
Yeah. The amount of cultures you get within like any singular African nation, even the small ones, is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out when you're dealing with the area of the world that is most likely the origin of all human life, there's a lot of diversity.
There's literally more genetic diversity in Africa than all of the rest of the world combined. Yeah. I think by an actual like multiple factor.
Yeah, like a magnitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. it does make it fascinating to like look into and learn again what you can based on what records actually exist in any sort of accurate way.
Oh no, it is a very, very rich place, and
Eat shit, blonde Robbie Rotten.
I do love this takes after like the original series.
That dude looks like he belongs in fucking Cyborg 009.
Yeah, these are definitely original series villains from the looks of it, practically.
It's just him. That's the thing.
He looks like
the rest of
I know.
the rest of the Invisible Ninth Corps look kind of fucking normal. He, for some reason, looks like the man's face is made out of fucking silly putty. Like, legitimately, no other character in 81 looks fucking weird and like stretchy rubber human like that. Like, again, that's the thing with Gundam is like typically, because it's, you know, supposed to be sort of a more realistic focused series, the characters don't have more like exaggerated features or more like cartoony appearances and stuff like that.
First series accepting.
Even in the first series though, like
They have
Ish?
some...
not really. Like, I mean, there's like maybe one or two, but like you look at the majority of the cast and like aside from like very specific stylistic choices of like
the base cast, yes. I think the villains of the week are where you kind of get into the...
ish, but even then, most of the Xeon characters look like, I mean, you've got like fucking like Ramba Ral, who just looks like a dude. You've got, you know, like Dozel Zabi, who looks like a big dude. Like, you know, they don't have like our exaggerated.
In fairness, he
features.
looks like a dude that ate an ox, but
he's a big dude, but like I've seen dudes that are like, you know, 6'8" and have a fucking like 4 foot shoulder, you know, 4.5 foot shoulder span. Like, it happens. Like,
oh no,
there are
they
people
definitely
built
exist.
like that.
Yeah,
Like, you know, but like, yeah, that dude for some reason just has this like really like exaggeratedly large nose and like the big like hair swoop.
Yep.
He looks like they pulled him out of fucking Red Line or fucking like Space Dandy.
It looks like he's a character on the rapper for Laffy Taffy.
Yeah, like they pulled this dude out of a fucking Bazooka Joe comic.
Jughead Jones is gonna come in and
Yeah, it's like look like
He's a normal dude.
Alios looks fucking normal. Like Eric Blank looks normal. Like Hughes Conrad looks like, you know, Conrad looks normal. Like I do not know why that one dude Fritz or whatever looks like that. Huh? Yeah, that's like the one though. Like. Yeah, that was brought up by Hunter in the background. Is the one like act guy pilot from the original series that has like the weird like red nose, but like that's a design thing for like it's a particular type of character you see represented in anime. It's like a cultural thing. I don't remember the exact thing about it, but it's supposed to represent an actual like facial feature that some people have.
Yeah, the nuclear plant didn't start leaking until Zeta. Then we got some weird mutations.
I mean, Bask Ulm is just a weird, sluggish, fat dude. Like, those people also exist. I mean, that he's the same style of character design as Degin Zabi.
Yeah. Perfectly normal.
he lost
slug man.
weight in very specific places.
But yeah, no, I mean, for the most part, you get, like, most Gundam character designs are, for a certain definition of the term, realistic, which is just why that one dude there being...
I mean, he's definitely
cartoonishly
out of style for this game, or
for that series.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he doesn't mesh well with the other characters from his same scenario, because it's like, granted, like when we were doing like the Igloo stuff, like the Igloo character designs in this are a modification adaptation of the character designs in the actual Igloo, because the actual Igloo is done with like CG. It was one of the first CG Gundam series ever done. And so like even the human characters were CG, but it was the weird like sort of cell shaded-ish CG. But so when they did it with this, they basically converted that into a more traditional art style. So they look different than other characters, but not like, they at least look consistent within themselves. Whereas that one dude, Fritz or whatever, just for some reason looks bizarre, even against the other 0081 characters. So I have to admit, when you started talking about, like, oh, in Zeta, and you first brought up Jamatov Hyman, and then you were like, wait, no, I thought you were going to go to Hamaiken,
Oh, right,
his
you have to
weirdly
kill him
small
with the
face.
one guy.
Yes. Hamaiken and his bizarrely small face.
I assume he has like a fraction of health left.
Didn't have much. Garbage away so you don't die.
That's Hamaiken Donegan. No, his name isn't Jamaican.
It's got a lot of forehead.
He's got a 12 head. Are you fucking kidding me?
Did you just fail to kill him?
The gas unit doesn't hit that hard.
So I do have to say,
I mean, he is in a gym, so
yeah.
Not really expecting much.
One of the other streamers I watch, Doc, was running a Lancer game for a while for a group of folks, and Doc is also an artist, so actually drew character portraits for a lot of like the NPCs and the players and all that. And he had a character in it, one of the NPCs that they dealt with. I want to say it might have been... No, it wasn't Kaki Ganjay. I don't remember which character it was, but there was one of the NPCs that he had that was based off of Hamaiken's character design, except he explicitly saved that one with the layers intact so that the face was on a separate layer. So every subsequent time they met the character, he shrank the face by like 5%. They didn't deal with that character a lot. They only ran into him like 3 or 4 times, but his face was just gradually getting smaller every time. It was pretty fucking funny.
Blah, blah, blah. Seen this cutscene already.
No, unfortunately, you can only actually skip if you fully completed the mission before. It does not take into account, oh, I've already seen this specific cutscene. It is, have you completed the mission or not?
Unknown.
Snipers.
Yep.
Zombie snipers.
Which is the problem you had last time.
Well, the hover truck got hit by Heavenly Freeze, and then it can't possibly dodge the sniper shot because it's a map attack, so...
Yeah. And it being the hover drop has hover truck hit points.
Made of paper. Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to these DOMs, which,
Made of paper.
yeah.
Actually,
When they're attacking,
there's plenty of things they can attack.
armor
They can't
unit.
one-shot them.
Yeah.
They aren't attacking those things.
As it turns out, attacking the full armor unicorn is not a good idea.
Doesn't matter what you are. Now he's angry.
When we actually get to like the last couple scenarios of Unicorn, there will be some things there that might be nearly on the same level. Like, I will remind you, at one point we will have to fight a Neo Zeong.
Yeah. There's an ability called Delete that removes suit abilities for a round.
Yep.
So you can actually shoot it.
I mean, not that we couldn't just melee to death. I mean,
Yeah.
enough units to have to be a problem.
Yeah.
Also, we have some people who at high particular lack ability high combo from outside his range. Still garbage over there.
Have like the 10 plus range necessary to actually use a funnel outside of. Or other non-funnel Psychon move systems.
Well, I mean,
If they
there
exist.
are non-funnel psychometer systems, but
Oh, that was easy.
yep. Good job, fight base. No idea. Barking up the wrong tree, buddy.
You have a stealth capable Ifrit, not not something remotely as ridiculous as a Kashatra repair.
Yep. Oh, I don't care. I need to see the corpse. I know it's there.
I don't know, you could have missed with both attacks somehow. Oh, I forgot to, yeah.
Like, I know that. Like, I did the sports. I know the Brian couldn't do it on his own. Do you need... We're good.
Five.
Okay. I'm just getting it over with.
Oh, that was some damage.
I got static shocked when I touched the cat. Turns out, cat fur rubbing against underside of couch creates static
Couch
electricity.
and carpet, yeah.
Which then static shocked me. And because of my proximity to the microphone, actually caused a pop back to go through my mic into my headset. Cat tried to kill me.
You know you did.
Yeah, electricity.
Yeah, so that got us Hughes Conrad, or Coran, because we had filled his get gauge.
It's got the Psychomo control system, a lesser version of the Psychomo
Psychoframe.
Psychoframe.
Yep. Yeah, that's the bronze we unlocked for that.
So a lesser version of a mod we have already.
Yes. But it is... So the one thing to remember is that there are actually limits to how many you can have of a given one.
And we can't double up on the unit, so...
Yeah, and the other thing being is that you are more restricted the higher rank of a mod it is. We can probably get, like, I think probably 20 of those, whereas we can only get, like, maybe 5 or 10 of the Psycho Frame.
Should be easy to tell. Lists. So the actual Psycho Frame.
Yeah, the improved Psycho Frame there, we can have 5. Whereas the, so it's going to cost like nothing. Yeah, we can have 20 of those. Yeah.
And so we can't stack up, we can't double up on a single thing, so we can't have someone have like multiple Psycho control systems.
But we could have them have a
can
Psycho
have them
control
have
system
both.
and an improved Psycho Frame.
Okay.
Alternatively, the other thing being is, again, since we can only have 5 of the, like, top rank ones, we can't put that on every unit. Not that we would want to for that particular one, but for the...
Also, if it's a unit that doesn't care about the Psychomo, they both do the same 5 accuracy and evasion, though I would assume there's probably better mods anyways.
Pretty much. Yeah, there are ones that specifically do accuracy evasion but don't do awaken.
Stuff to upgrade.
You have stuff to upgrade. Yep, Dogsha.
And it goes back down its tree to...
Yeah, but we haven't actually produced.
Yeah, we haven't produced the
Hamadi or
plot,
plot.
so... Higher than 2, 4.
The Nightingale is actually intended to be one of our final team, so...
What's that? Well, yeah, the Nightingale stat. I'm talking about the...
Oh, the Bjarla.
Alarm. It's 4. Nightingale's not changing. It's done.
To a 4.
That needs 6.
Ah, okay. Yes, that turns into the Bjarlin Custom. Makes sense.
This was done? Yeah.
Yeah, play turning into a Masala.
A tiki masala.
Check the Masala to see if that's going to develop into anything. I don't. Okay, yeah. Literally everything off of that.
Both the Palestine and the O. And the...
Bolanoxana.
Yeah, everything is new.
All the Kube suits.
Yeah. You're obviously fine. You didn't get any levels. Downgrade the 7th into... full on.
I think it doesn't really matter either way, because I'm pretty sure those both go into each other. So, yeah, full armor will turn into the heavy at 3, and I'm pretty sure the heavy turns into the full armor at 3.
You're set.
Yeah, the fourth with Booster, which was never actually made.
Yeah. That's the end of your line.
Nope, there was one in there.
The
We never actually made the base fourth, so we may as well.
Yeah. Okay.
The Winds of Augusta.
Huh?
Make wind noises.
砂漠の風作戦以降、ジオン残党の動きは激化の一途をたどっていた。世界各地における連邦軍基地への同時多発的な強襲作戦、物資強奪が主な目的と考えられる一連の動きについて、連邦軍は後の大規模反攻作戦に備えての行動と判断、そしてさらに新たな
Okay, so in this one, I believe during the second part, we need to destroy all invisible knight units, then have Hughes defeat Eric.
Oh yeah, since I didn't ask this before, what genre of game was the 81 story?
Sounds right. Like I said, I haven't actually played. Having not actually played, I don't really know. No, thank you, Gundam Wiki. When I type in 0081, I'm not looking for Mobile Suit Gundam Saigon 0081. Nobody's ever looking for Saigon 0081. Fuck off. It calls it a mecha action game, which doesn't really tell us a whole hell of a lot. Let's see if it has an actual description of gameplay. Okay, looks like a third-person shooter style.
Okay. Yeah. It's one of the two styles I tend to assume Gundam games are going to be. It's either that or strategy.
There have been some weird ones, but
Obviously, dating sim.
There has been at least one visual novel. But no, there's you're not wrong in that primarily there are a lot of like third-person shooter action style games and a lot of strategy games, but you do occasionally get some very bizarre ones out there.
Ash 3 puzzle game.
I don't think they've done that yet, but there have been
Fighting games.
there have been like 3 board games in the SD Gundam genre. There's been at least 1 racing game that I know of.
2 fighting games?
Like 4 fighting games.
I think it's
Yes. Yes, there is F90 on the Super Famicom Formula Wars, which is like a top-down
RTS.
Sort of RTS, except you're controlling a singular unit, and also it's got shades of Super Godzilla. As like when you go into combat, the combat actually takes place in that you have like the different attacks, and like there's like a sort of bar that kind of goes back and forth that simulates like the press of combat, and depending on where, like how far the bar is going one way or another, you have access to different attacks, and like it's super weird.
Yeah.
It's reflex based when again wander around and have Super Godzilla style.
It's fucking bizarre. Fair. I don't think about the Seed games because who gives a flying fuck about Seed?
I mean, accurate, but
Soon to be a hero shooter?
I mean, there already is a hero shooter. Just because it's not fully released yet. Like, I played Evolution.
That's currently in beta. It's not released yet. An Overwatch clone?
and unfortunately, we will eventually have to get to Seed as we keep playing these games, but we can ignore that for now.
Seeds and
Crossrays.
Crossrays, yeah.
I mean, that will be quite literally, we're going to do Super Robot Wars V after this, and then we're going to do Crossrays.
Yeah.
So, Wing is better than Seed.
Wing is better than Seed.
Wing is better than Seed, especially in Crossrays, where you can actually understand the story of Wing, because it focuses on the actual important events and not the stupid fucking teenage character drama. No. No. Seed is not better than Wing. I'm sorry, we're going to disagree there. And you are not going to change my mind.
And I happen to agree with Josh.
Age is better than Seed. At least Age is dumb enough for me to laugh at. Seed is just dumb.
Seed also has the disadvantage of having Seed Destiny attached to it, which actually drags it down.
Drag down the average.
Yeah.
And
It actually makes its previous series worse. That's how bad Destiny is.
And I say this saying, like, pointing out, like, I wouldn't go so far as to say one of my favorite, but I do actually really like one of the Seed side stories.
Astray?
Stargazer.
Okay.
I actually quite like Stargazer. Unfortunately, it's tied to Seed.
I remember hearing Astray is also supposed to be good, but I
haven't dealt much with Astray, but yeah, my understanding is that Astray is pretty
Most
solid.
of the giant pile of Astray stuff is supposed to be good.
yeah.
Like suit designs in Seed are fine.
Oh no, the suit
Oh,
designs
yeah.
in Seed are fine.
It's just the story's not good.
Yeah.
Made fun suits just to make a good series. Yeah.
Like backpacks.
I'm cool with backpacks.
Yeah.
The color backpacks.
Oh no, the production values in Seed are fine.
I don't mind
literally
big
the story.
giant back units at all.
my
Masters of Seed. The original had a big comic.
I'm a huge fan of them giving giant angel wings to the Talgies. I like big stupid back units.
So my sort of comparative rating of Seed versus Wing, and the reason why I say that Wing is better than Seed, is because realistically with Wing, there's only maybe like 3 or 4 characters that are completely intolerable. There is not a single likable character in Seed.
Wait, let me think about this.
I would literally not
Yes.
care if every single character in Seed were wiped out of existence.
Unfortunately, they tend to do the opposite of anything.
Whereas Wing, it's like, Hero can fuck off, Relina is an idiot, and
Duo should have been the character.
well, yes, Duo should have been the main character. But like, Hero can fuck off, Relina is an idiot, and like, Troa just kind of doesn't have a personality at all. Other than that, the characters are fine.
Any of them, they're tolerable enough on screen. I don't actually have too much of a problem with it in and of itself.
I mean, Troa is definitely tolerable, and see aforementioned comment about he doesn't really exist. He's kind of just there. He may as well just be a gray silhouette.
And Hero's dumb. Just like really dumb.
And really stop blowing up other people's Gundams. If he wants to blow up his own Gundam, fine. Don't hijack
Blow up-
somebody else's
Don't
Gundam.
blow up Troa's Gundam.
Yeah,
Do the best you can.
don't hijack somebody else's Gundam for your mission and then be like, all right, I'm going to blow it up because I failed. It's like, no, you stop that. But like I said, Wing is actually... So I have watched through the entirety of Gundam Wing
As of I.
twice.
As of I.
I got a better understanding of what the actual story of Gundam Wing was by playing the Gundam Wing scenarios in Crossrays than I did from watching through the entire series twice. I actually understand what the political conflict of Gundam Wing is now.
God,
The glory of the loser.
Yes, Glory of the Losers, the manga sort of readaptation of Wing is supposedly much better. I haven't actually read that yet.
Less said about Frozen 2.
That being said,
Actually, that is one major advantage I will say. Wing, or one major advantage I can point to is Wing does have a much better constructed universe than Seed.
yeah. The other thing being is that Crossrays also includes the much better Wing side story of G Unit, which whips ass.
God, we're going to get to G Gundam, or we're going to have to do Wing Gundam at some point during watch night, aren't we?
Yeah, in theory.
I just do it at 2 times speed.
I mean, we could technically decide not to. We've already basically said we're not watching Seed.
That's true.
Besides, who hasn't actually seen Wing in the first place?
It's not a matter of who has and hasn't seen stuff. It is.
It's just you're
literally a
doing
matter. We're going through to watch stuff. Like, I mean, yes, I have watched through all of Wing. Like I said, twice. The last time was probably 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
The last time would have been on fucking Toonami.
I watched it once post Toonami, just to be like, I was like in fucking like high school, like I was a freshman in high school when it was airing on Toonami. Like I might not have like just understood the deeper like political stuff. I should probably rewatch this, now and like see if I get it more. And I did, and it was like, no, I don't. Like it just does a really bad job of actually explaining what the fuck is going on with like the political backstory. And,
It's not really the focus of the series.
No,
It's more about the characters.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong.
Which
Gundam
don't annoy me as much as, don't really annoy me, but I'm more apathetic.
Like, here's the thing. Like, it is not uncommon for a Gundam series to actually be very focused on like character drama and character development and character interaction against the backdrop of a political and military conflict. But there's usually at least an establishment and decent explanation of said military conflict in the context of how these characters are interacting with it, which Wing just absolutely does not do. It is literally, let's look at these pretty boys moping. Meanwhile, it's been 3 months and Trace has fucked everyone.
Yes,
How did Trace fuck everyone? Shut up. Don't worry about it. Look, pretty boys.
It doesn't help the fact that usually the Gundam protagonist is being dragged through the main events of history, whereas in Wing, the main events of history are happening over here while the Gundam protagonists are doing whatever.
The Gundam protagonist blows up other people's mobiles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. The major political conflict and world.
They are like news stories that are happening to distract everyone while actual crap is going on in the background.
Yeah, it's like, yes, this major like political and military like coup is taking place over here. Meanwhile, Tro's joined the fucking circus. Let's focus on the circus and not the entire fucking world being changed.
For like the second time in 3 months or something. It's,
Yeah.
A lot of shit actually happens in a very short period of time in that series.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's like I said, like playing through the Wing scenarios in Crossrays, I actually have a way better understanding of like the actual world of Wing than I did watching through the entire series twice. It's actually pretty remarkable. I cannot say the same for Seed. I still don't care even after having played through the scenarios in
that's because
in
Seed
Crossrays.
doesn't really... Seed as like a world doesn't really have anything redeemable to it. That's the bigger issue. It's like I can't actually say much positive about the story or how they built the that universe.
I think the biggest problem with the story and world of Seed is that it seems like they sat down in a writer's room at some point to brainstorm, but didn't actually eliminate any ideas.
Yes. That and it seemed they like almost started with like the Universal Century universe, changed a few names and ideas, and then just added stuff that didn't actually help or make anything useful.
I mean, to some extent, that was kind of the intention of Seed, was to be sort of a reimagining of like the original UC stuff and sort of take it from a more modern lens.
But missing like every point that the UC universe had in the first place.
Kinda, yeah.
6 more units in a single turn.
Oh, look, we've got G lines.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Standard armor.
standard and looks like a light.
Okay, so
Yes.
I know.
since we're directly interacting with them now, what exactly is the G line?
So the G line is actually a customizable, like a modular customizable platform mobile suit design. So as you can see here, we have 2 different versions of the G line now. We have Cherie here in the standard armor, and then we have Hughes currently piloting the light armor. So again, one of the things mechanically in this game, if you return it to a battleship, you can actually switch which mode it is in.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's like I can switch if we had a battleship, we could switch the standard to the light or like to the heavy.
Assault.
Assault, yeah.
Yeah, so the idea behind the G-Line was it was designed to be a far more customizable mobile suit, even more so than your typical sort of grunt suit gym kind of thing, where you can technically swap out the armaments that a gym has, but the actual core of the gym itself, like the suit itself, is there. What the G-Line actually primarily is, the G-Line is a frame that additional equipment can essentially be tacked onto depending upon the circumstances. So like in this,
So
the standard
it's-
has these big like Gatling guns and things like that, and is more armored and more offensive than the light armor. The light armor is a faster, more CQC focused scout recon unit, and then the assault is an incredibly heavily armored but less mobile, basically just fucking like tank unit.
So basically, more so than other mobile suits, which basically can just pick up weapons, this thing actually has like hard mounting points and different levels of armor that you can
Armor,
actually
swap
mount
on, swap
it.
out.
And was specifically designed in such a way to be actually doable. Basically, like again,
Inside of a
it is designed to be able to swap out on the battlefield to a certain extent. Like obviously, it's not like field swappable, so you can't just like pop out of your cockpit and change it out. But if you have any sort of support facility there, like
swap your armor
like if you're doing
weapons.
defense of a base, you can pop back into the base hangar. Basically, if you can get back to a hangar facility, the modular design was designed to be able to be swapped very quickly, to be able to redeploy within the same battle in a different configuration.
And also this lets you carry a single mobile suit that can do multiple roles,
Yeah.
as opposed to like you send out a gym to gym.
also has the advantage of you don't have to replace the entire mobile suit if a part gets damaged, since it is actually modular.
yeah.
However, do not.
No.
The base unit is too expensive and separated base unit that way. And already built something amazing at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the big thing, is that like, because like the G-Line in its initial design was very much intended to be a new like grunt suit. It did still end up getting use in situations like this, because if
Well,
you think
this-
about it, this is actually something
It was intended to be the 78 replacement.
kind of, yeah.
And then demilitarization happens, they stop development.
Well, and the other thing is that it is still very useful for something like, say, a special forces unit that might be called on to do multiple different types of missions. They're not a particular squad designed to be like, okay, you're going to be like, you know, you're the defense garrison for a base. You don't really need modular suits in that instance, because your suits are only going to be doing one thing. They're going to be defending a base. So you can have like gun cannons and artillery focused units and things like that. When you're more of a special forces unit that could be called on to do any number of things, that's when having a more sort of modular swappable system is going to be more useful. But that's not really... There aren't enough special forces units to justify mass producing something like a G-Line just to be used by them, essentially.
That, and also Gundam, especially 79 when it was originally developed, kind of bases its warfare off of the more old doctrines of warfare, which are more mass armies, conscript soldiers, etc.
Yeah.
So stuff like, whereas modern armies, especially like modern Western armies, tend to be more volunteer soldiers, smaller numbers, but more specialized.
Yeah, it was exclusively on Tomino's memory.
Yeah. So very much a World War II.
Yeah, I mean, that being
style
said,
army.
that being said, as we have moved forward, because again, this is like a PS3 game, so this was obviously
Yeah.
developed well past that point. There have been obviously more sort of adaptations of that style. Like 8th MS Team is basically Gundam Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guerrilla tactics. It's very small squads, that kind of stuff. So they do adapt a lot to it. So again, it is something that is much more. Like it is much more like doable, you know, like they can do things more like having actual special forces units and stuff like that in
Yeah.
more modern stuff, even if it is set during 1 Year War era, because again, these are, and a lot of these obviously aren't written or even really interacted with by Tomino, so it is up to sort of the creators of each individual story to sort of decide what the focus or what the style of that story is going to be. But in these instances, yeah, it's like, you know, like obviously 0081 focuses on a special forces unit, so they have more sort of modernized military style.
And when you get into like later series,
For the most part, later full series aren't as full-scale military conflicts. So Zeta, which we will get to, the primary focus of Zeta is actually sort of a rebellion uprising, because it's not actually a military conflict between two like actual nations like the One Year War was. It is literally primarily between the Titans, which are sort of a Federation secret police special forces kind of organization, and AUG, which is specifically a group that formed against the Federation kind of because of things like the Titans, where the Federation were being extremely fascist and tyrannical. So it's not like a full military conflict. It's an insurgency essentially. You get Double Zeta, which is a conflict to a certain extent between the Federation and Neo Zeon, except the Federation pretty much immediately rolls over and bares its neck for Neo Zeon to tear out. And their Neo Zeon itself is not really acting super militarily against the Federation, but more so just being like, listen, like, we're just out here, we want to make peace, and they're like, here. And then they go, thank you for your peace offering. Give us another. Because the Double Zeta is where you start getting to the point of starting to really see the Federation collapse start to actually build. Like, it still takes quite a long time, as you would imagine, for anything on that scale of like governmental control to really fully collapse. But Double Zeta is where you really start to see like the cracks were there even during the 1 Year War, but they start being really obvious during Double Zeta era. And then you get stuff like, you know, CCA, which is again like a single conflict. It's not even really all that drawn out.
You don't go from population until we see major attacks in the following decades.
Yeah.
That's the 1 Year War was horrible.
Yeah, so the only
yeah, that's the other thing. After the 1 Year War, there's not actually any going up in escalation from there.
Yeah.
Considering it's like a solar system-wide conflict.
Yeah,
As far as I put it, the 1 Year War is a apocalyptic event. They kill innocent people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Basically what it comes down to is, especially for UC Gundam, the 1 Year War is the last real full, like, war you get until very late UC. Basically, like, you get the 1 Year War, and that's definitely the last real significant war between Federation and Zeon forces. Like, technically the Neo Zeon War is considered a quote-unquote war, but it's really not, just because of, like, in actual practice. The next real war you have basically isn't until Victory Gundam.
Cutscene fight with the freak knocked.
Yep.
Versus a Gem Command, or is this actually?
No, that's the G.
that's the
That's the
G
G.
Oh, that's a
line.
G line.
That's
Okay.
the light armor.
Ah.
Yeah, as soon as they get them, Hughes and Cherie basically immediately start piloting the G lines.
Okay.
And then, like, at the very end, they get the 7th Gundam and Hughes pilots that.
Bye, Fritz. How could you? Only we were supposed to kill people in a war. come on. Obvious plot development is obvious.
Yep.
タチアナ。
エリック、これをあなたに
Shock.
使ってほしいの。
But obvious plot development. Yes.
連邦への潜入に
They sent one of their members to Earth who became a
Test pilot. Yeah, I was gonna say from the
And we
moment
have this test pilot on our team.
私はシェリー・アリス、エリック・ブランケとは赤の他人になるわ。
タチアナ。そうだとしても覚えておいてくれ。タチアナ・デアは私が姉と慕うたった一人の人間だと。
ありがとう、エリック。タチアナ・デアにとってもあなたは可愛い弟だったわ。ねえ、エリックは知っている？まだ人類が空に上がる前、人が流れ星に願いを託したことを。
After they went to space, they wished the falling stars would not hit them.
Oh god!
空から海に落ちるその雫に水天の涙と名付けたそうよ。
水天の涙。
任務で地球に行ったら毎日夜空を眺めるの。そして水天の涙に祈るわ。戦争が終わり、私たちが全員無事に再会できることを。
Granted, but I'm an asshole.
フリッツ。
The war did end. And you got to see each other again. What more did you want? You didn't say that you did not. New York!
Yep.
You didn't say you wouldn't have to not kill one of your friends.
Oh. I think this is the first time we've been here in
New York?
G-Gen Genesis, so I'm pleased to see that they kept the idiot transliteration.
This one's destroy all.
You need to destroy all the invisible knights and then have Hughes defeat Eric. But yes, New York.
New York City.
Which is just a very bizarre translation error.
Yep. I sure do love it here in upstate New York.
Because in Japanese it's Nuyaku.
Okay.
And for some reason, when they translated 0079, they decided this needed to be transliterated to New York rather than New York, which it clearly is.
I'm gonna go with just something the proofreaders missed, assuming they exist, which is a big assumption.
Yes, but it's also something they've never actually corrected, which they have definitely done to other things in Gundam. Although that being said, there are also some other things that are clear transliteration errors that they have never fixed. Hence why some units are still officially known as full burnern.
Talk about the full burner.
Even though the word is very clearly vernier.
Nope, burner. It's a legacy at this point. They don't want to fix it. I was just wondering where we're going to address the fact that we have a Xeon spy on our team. Oh, no, the hero thing. Okay, sure. Let's go with that. We were all there at the mission. We know we have a Xeon spy on our team. We're not dumb. I know. No, they're dumb.
They're dumb.
We are not
Yeah.
dumb.
We're not dumb, but they are. Oh, that was quick. Xeon stopped fighting the war. This is just you guys.
You, next time you jump in front of a shot like Harsherfont, use your shield.
These things have shields for a reason. Now, these are gem shields, so they don't work that great, but they work.
Shield's a shield. They don't have like an anti-beam coating, but I mean,
Yeah, but that was also a Zaku.
it's a
which
Zaku.
means
It
wasn't
wasn't
using
a beam
weapon.
weapon. It fires like a Zaku machine gun at it. I mean, I don't care.
I mean, that being said, it was firing a Zaku machine gun. Even the light armor G-Line isn't going to give a shit.
Yeah, I do feel that sometimes firearms can be randomly more lethal than they usually are for some reason.
Cutscene. Now to go out of my way to make sure she gets as many kills as possible in these missions. Yeah, shoot all the Xeon members.
It meant nothing.
We're going to hurl rocks at the Earth as if this is going to change anything and not just be basically an act of terrorism at this point.
Eh.
I'm just not sure what their plan is right now. I would figure
So you
ostensibly
keep
their plan
conducting a
is-
war long after it ended, which,
Well, I mean,
to be
like-
fair, is actually a parallel now that I think about it.
If they're going for Ruinous Tears, ostensibly the plan I would assume would be to fire the math driver at Earth. But that's on the moon, and they're on Earth, which means what the fuck are they doing? Dumb, the war's already over.
Crush their will.
War's already over.
Well, yes, but they still have the will to fight, which is why we must crush them. If we could just simply break their will, this fight would be over.
There's gonna be some dumb Psychomu super weapon or something.
Not in this series.
Yeah.
No, canonically, no. In this
Later
theoretical-
on? Definitely.
Yeah, nobody involved in 0081 is a new type? I don't think.
I don't think so.
At least not that we've seen so far. I know Hughes isn't.
I don't think it was implicitly a new type. I have no idea if
That would
new
feel
type
so
is.
off for everything else we've seen in 81.
Yeah.
And the suits being used for that matter, because they're
Yeah.
pretty tame,
They're
actually.
normal suits.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
Plenty of new types have to use normal suits.
Hughes does end up
No,
in a
but-
Gundam.
Yeah, but
In fact, ends up in the heavy full armor 7th Gundam.
Like they didn't.
but
get,
those aren't like those suits aren't specifically developed for new types per se. unless I
no,
don't
but
think
even
they are,
like
but yeah,
absolute new type nonsense stuff doesn't happen until later.
yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. I'm not really sure what the fuck the heavy full armor 7th Gundam was actually developed for, other than being as ludicrous as possible.
Throw a bunch of armor and guns on a Gundam.
I mean, I think probably that.
Emphasize the gun, Gundam.
In fairness, military
there is-
technology is not the most thought out thing in the world sometimes. Sometimes it really just comes down to put more armor and gun on it.
Godwin.
Whether it's actually a good idea or not is a completely different matter.
Like at least the strap a bunch of guns to it makes sense if you're going to deploy it in space, where all the mass doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that full armor 7 that can work on land.
The heavy full armor 7th was only ever intended
the
for
heavy
space.
Okay.
Okay.
The full armor 7th works on land, yes. But the heavy full armor is another instance of one of those, like, I think it's only a theoretical one anyways. But, I mean, granted, not saying that the regular full armor 7th isn't also kind of ridiculous, but isn't, like, literally, like, a dendrobium-sized fucking, like, support unit strapped onto this fucking thing.
So as far as pure space and so the mass of the thing is still kind of going to matter in space because if you want to change direction, you have to overcome its momentum.
We can throw thrusters everywhere.
You can throw thrusters everywhere, but it's still going to take more power in order to do X, Y, and Z. But you don't have to worry about structural integrity as much. It's not going to crush itself under its own weight, per se. But it's not like you can literally build the suit of straight dark matter and not worry about the weight. Or other problems with building a suit of straight dark matter. But
Actually, really impressive. You made a suit out of dark matter. At the same time.
at the same time, the suit part is no longer the function or worry of what you just made. You'll destroy your enemies through sheer gravitational crushing force, unintendedly.
Oh, like Fluttershy.
Yes.
Oh, it's made of dark matter.
Yeah. In all fairness, stupid atomic bazooka shenanigans aside, that is in fact typically where you get nuked from, is above.
Yes.
They didn't bring a nuke. But we did.
They are not exactly generally considered straight fire, direct fire weaponry.
And considering that not even Russia developed the ground-burrowing torpedo nuke, which would be the one country I would think stupid enough to pursue something idiotic like
It's
that.
the most obvious weapon in the world.
I mean, we did develop the nuclear rifle and then decided that was a dumb idea and stopped.
To be fair, it couldn't fire outside of its own
Fallout radius.
fallout radius. So it's like, I'm pretty sure someone will notice a giant drill missile going through the drill bomb going to the earth.
One of the easiest to detect weapons in existence.
Can't go that fast. Easy as shit to detect.
I'm thankful they didn't actually build their giant, literal ship nuclear weapon designed basically to destroy the planet if it detected too much radiation in Russia.
Yeah.
One of the dumbest things on paper.
It's a war. People die.
Actually, no, it's
not a
not.
war.
It's just them.
But it's combat. People die.
Yeah. No, a war would be better.
It's like every single time, it's like, oh my god, they shot down one of my people. You've killed like 15 people today. You think they're not going to fight back?
You're attacking a military facility with military hardware.
How dare you shoot Fritz? He was aiming his gun at me.
You also attacked us first. Self-defense at this point.
Can you destroy Eric without losing any radar domes?
Yes.
Can you destroy Eric with what's her name without losing her?
It's with Hugh.
We need
probably,
to we need to kill Hughes, otherwise I would absolutely do that. I am going to make her kill every other member of the team, though.
Yeah, these are all just generic. It's only the 4 up top that are the Invisible Knights.
Because I am, in fact, an asshole.
Yeah, because everyone else is the generic units. It is specifically the 4 that spawned in the top that are explicitly the Invisible Knights.
Yep.
Really big laser. Doesn't take 1,700 turns to charge up.
I just love how during that scenario they're talking about time literally in units of turns.
Yeah. They often do.
They don't have to do it that often. I'll refer to it as minutes.
In that scenario, they were specifically saying
Yeah,
turns,
turns,
but yeah.
Yeah, like that scenario they refer to it as turns. The like special like DLC like money and XP missions they refer to them as turns. Most of the time when there's been like a time limit like that or like a specific time to complete something in, they do usually refer to it as like, oh, it's like 3 minutes until like the takeoff or whatever.
On screen.
No.
Coward.
Oh, you're.
I can blow up a ship. Can't give me a ship, then not let me shoot it. Very upsetting.
That is pretty sure only space capable.
No, it has a transform. Still only space capable. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have an SOS. did actually forget to check that after we developed it into the Masala, but
One mission, whatever.
yeah. Like I said, we've got an SFS on carry base there.
The right time.
Maybe. Nope, space only. Char, you stay here.
I think there's like 1 suit left on the south, 2, 3 suits left on the south side, and they'll die to counterparts.
Yep.
Take that, generic Xeon soldier. That is a man who enjoys his work.
Yep. Yazan exists in a perpetual state of murder boner. And is also explicitly designed to look like Sting as Fade Alpha in the David Lynch Doom movie. A turn for all these radar domes to do nothing.
Yep.
Sir, we're technically fighting on our radar. You mean the fight I can literally see out the window?
Undead, good.
Well, that wasn't Eric anyways.
No.
No.
No, but I want to make sure I kill them all with Yeah, such an ass. All our units throw some attacks at the dinner dishes before you all die.
Except for that guy.
Well, he couldn't get in range of one of the radars. Yeah, they do stuff with the AI sometimes, where in this instance they do actually specifically prioritize going after the radar domes. If they can't reach a radar dome, they will attack units in range.
Which makes sense.
And I think the Invisible Knights do not have that AI prioritization. I believe they do actually specifically go after units. Because they had that whole argument about, like, well, if we don't fight them, or, you know, a bunch of people are going to die. Yada, yada. It's fine. They're generically on pilots. They're not real people. They don't even have eyes.
In total fairness, that bell, it is true of like some of our armed forces. Such great names as San Diego and Rancho Chipotle.
Do keep in mind there are the 2 units down by the other radar dome.
On the left side, yeah.
Yeah. You do actually need to send somebody down there to take care of them. Yeah. We've got to deal with them in some way. I want to say they got that dome to about half health last round, so if we don't deal with them, they will destroy it. We will lose out our opportunity for the secret, whatever the fuck it is. I mean, great loss, but, you know.
That's fine.
That Dom is at double-digit health.
It lived.
More energy so it can fire more once.
Yep. Kill your friends. Future friend.
渡月機お前との因縁はここで断ち切ってみせる貴様が我らの邪魔をするのならその首
Ah, spikes, the height of modern battlefield design.
Thinking on it.
So-
Now that we're like actually fielding it, and didn't really even think about it before. How do you feel about slotting in G-Line as one of our final team units?
Fine with
This
it.
is kind of a cool, like it's not like super statted or anything, but not everything on our final team needs to be grossly overpowered. It's got decent stats and with some levels on it, it'll be pretty solid, especially with a good pilot behind it. And it's an interesting enough unit, especially since we can swap around the state of it to fit what we need.
So the only thing left on the field is the Ifrit.
Yep. Which we specifically need Dukes to finish off.
Unfortunately, it means he has to hit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, all day.
Yeah. Sure enough.
Yeah, like we're not actually on a time limit on this map. It is just keep the radars from being destroyed, and since the only unit left on the field will focus on throwing attacks at Hughes. There we go.
Yep. Historic moments.
How did you miss it?
You was just
you
right
had
there.
to fly a plane over it. You literally have an aircraft between that and the base. Oh no, 5 turns.
Hughes, if that bomber really is carrying a nuke, blowing it up might not be the best of ideas.
Blowing up is perfectly fine. Nuclear weapons don't detonate randomly.
Yeah.
But if there is nuclear material in said nuclear weapon and you blow it up, it will disperse said nuclear material.
It will.
Well,
but it won't
this is-
detonate like a nuke.
No.
While this is true, if your option is between shooting it down or letting
letting
them
it-
drop
yes.
the nukes, shooting it sounds still a better option.
Nukes don't actually work in Gundam where your reactor gets hits magically explodes like a nuke.
No, I'm well aware of that. But you will still disperse nuclear material over a
Oh, yeah, it is
fairly decently large area if you blow
Oh
up
yeah,
a
it
nuke.
is absolutely a dirty bomb, which is still preferable to the actual nuclear detonation,
Yeah.
but is not great. So, what do we have to do with this thing?
Have some
Destroy the
fun, then
god within
destroy the
5
god.
turns, basically. So yeah, I was just looking it up. To get a G-line, we'll probably want to go grab a 78 real quick.
Oh, we have to do off 78.
We don't have to, but it's probably one of the fastest because we just have to get to 78 level 3 to get to the G-line. Since we have not actually previously unlocked the G-line, since this is like the first time it's been on field, and then additionally, it's also just like other stuff that we could have developed into it. We generally were going for something else with it.
That is uncharacteristically more hit points than I expect from the scenario.
It's
Those are the special units.
Yeah.
The special summons always have way boosted stats.
It's just we've been dealing with, like, effectively 1-year war generic grunt units and, like, the G-Line and a Freak Knock, so it's,
No, again, I mean, even in the last one, when we were in doing 0080, like, the special units that were summoned in had, like, 18 or 20,000 HP. Like, the special units explicitly have significantly boosted stats.
as far as
Yeah, I'm good with that.
there it is. No, never mind.
No, it just cutscene dies.
yeah.
Yeah, it still slams.
Yeah. I assume it was something that happened regardless, but...
Or not. Just pulled up.
Yeah, yeah.
It had the little, like, rainbow effect on there, which is usually what they use for, like, the nuclear detonations, so, it does still, like, slam in. But... it did not get to actually drop the nuke it was carrying. It just sort of impacted and blew up. That was like a reactor explosion, not the actual nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
What was a nuke after? I don't know where you guys got this whole idea about a nuke. But no indication they actually have a nuke. Assuming they have a nuke.
I'm not sure what the status is of nuclear weapons and exactly how easy or hard it would actually be to get one during or after the 1 year war, actually.
Considering they had to actively make a treaty to stop the sides from using them.
Yeah. True enough.
Prevalent.
Yeah.
And both sides have easy access to nuclear material, considering all the mobile systems
The nuclear reactors.
nuclear reactors.
Yeah. Oh, finally, this is coming up.
Both sides are fully capable of developing nuclear weapons. No.
Then the rock hits them and they all die.
It's like everything's fine.
This is 3 scenarios, I assume?
4.
4, okay.
It's 3:15.
Numbers!
I don't know if that's actually enough time to do another mission.
So what I'm figuring is either we can move on to do the next scenario in this and risk going over, or we can go grab a 78 real quick and run it through some like earlier missions that are going to be easier to try and get some levels.
Yeah, let's do that real quick. That'll be less of an issue, so we can skip cutscenes and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
just to level that into having our own G line.
produce.
If you hit R1, you should be able to change. Yeah, just do alpha alphabetical order or series. It's going to be pretty early on. Gundam.
The two white dingoes.
Yeah. More groups. You will need to swap it in on somebody.
So you get to pilot the Gundams.
Ah, Caswell's Gundam, I see.
This is what your levels on it. Yeah, then 4.
That's what it is.
So 4,
Yeah.
5. That's needs 6. Just needs 3. Okay. Just kind of the non-us doing stuff part is really easy as well.
Yeah.
Level 3, the Gundam?
Yeah, we need to get the 78 to 3, and then we can also work on getting the other, if we get the 78 to 3 quickly enough, we can then work on catch a couple levels on those other things that still need like a level or two.
Yep.
物足りないと思ってたと。さて、花火。
Oh, you mean you didn't want to go to the 8th MS team mission where the first part is defend the gun tanks?
Oh.
Fucking Norse Packard.
Did the first day of the Mass Team mission, that one's fine, but... Do this one, where the goal is to destroy the Zalkas without losing any Type 61s, and by that, I mean, I'm never going to let the Zalkas even get a fucking turn.
Get more money this way too to support our crippling Xeon Cross habit.
Oh no, they were traitors. Actually, objective of this part is just destroy weapons.
Just destroy enemies.
The only downside, if I remember correctly, these units don't recover energy. Specifically because we actually have
Yeah, you can throw it back on the Medea.
Medea. Okay, no, they actually just do it.
I think it was the next.
But there is one where they don't.
Yeah.
I assume you can do both.
I can still go on. But
Yeah.
oh no, that's right. Because we can't even get on the video.
Right, because it's not actually considered a deployed warship in this one.
Yeah. The one where it is the one we have to get back on the video. Don't care. No talk on the kill.
Back on the bus. The Yarl, that thing's still at the level.
Something like that, so I can do orders.
There we go.
I think it just needed one.
Yeah, I just need to get to 4 for the custom.
Something or other a custom.
Yarl custom. Like, I think we could technically level it further and get the bound dock, but that'll also almost certainly come off the Yarl custom. So.
That side that actually is leveling. Stop it.
How'd that work out for you?
Not well, sir. Stuff I can get to try and attack the Gundam
Yeah.
until he gets 3. Cowards.
Oh. As you have one mobile suit that's about to explode.
Yep.
Well, and for the most part, it can probably actually one-shot the tanks as long as it gets in with, like, the melee weapons, because those are actually the stronger ones.
The Hyper Hammer.
The Hyper Hammer is actually the strongest weapon on the 78. No, not quite. But
I know.
or no, yeah, it is. Just enough, I think.
62, they have
6,000. Yeah, so, like, just enough.
not quite with Beach Armor.
No.
I believe we also forgot to actually move.
Is that longer?
Yeah, so it's not going to regen energy.
This one does not have any energy bursts.
Nope.
So what you're saying is this might take a little while.
This one does.
I mean, it's fine. It's going to take at most a couple extra turns to throw the Gundam back on the ship
Yeah.
and then pull it back out. But even then,
Or Gundam back.
yeah.
Like 5 spaces, just give it an energy charge. But
Yep. There we go.
You need 6.
Does it? Jesus. What are you turning this guy into?
No idea. Whatever that is.
It's 5. It's like,
Okay.
yeah. So one more. Just the stupid turn into at 5. Ah, okay. Super Gundam.
Super Gundam.
Yeah.
The hell is Super Gundam?
It's like regular Gundam, but with a cane.
That's super.
It's the Super Gundam.
Okay.
It's just a Gundam.
Yeah.
It's not even from something like bizarre or obscure. It's from Zeta.
Fair enough, I guess.
It is, if I remember correctly, it is specifically the Zeta Gundam, or no, it's the Mark II Gundam with the G Defensor booster unit. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, based on what I'm reading here, technically the official designation is the Mark II Defensor, but everybody just calls it the Super Gundam. Yeah, the 78 is not that much more overpowered than these things, since they are same sort of era of unit.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely more powerful than a given gym, but it is not so much more powerful that it's just gonna, like, one-shot them no matter what.
more XP.
Yep. Yeah, there we go.
Right, now to...
Yeah, I mean, we still got some other units we want to get a level or two on, so.
Yeah.
Oh, it does work on group attack.
Oh, the attack
boost?
boost? Yeah. Yeah, you just have to specifically attack boost the ship because the ship is the one that's actually doing the attack. The only thing it doesn't work on is like map attacks because those are set damage. All right, that takes us to like 3:45, so probably call it here. We'll go ahead and pump the Gundam up, do the quick develops on stuff that we got. But yeah, thank you all for joining us again for another Super Robot Sunday here at Sound Goblin Gaming. We'll be back tomorrow with more Elden Ring Pokemon on Pokemon Days. We'll be back on Tuesday with more of Phoenix Point Year 1. We'll be right back here on Saturday with probably not the full remainder of Chapter 5 of Danganronpa V3, but
we're going to get to the trial.
We'll get to the trial, but I don't think we'll get through the trial.
Oh, no. We're not going to
The trial will be the week after, yeah. So we'll get through the very brief remainder, I believe, of the daily life, and then the entirety of Deadly Life, almost certainly, and get to the trial for Chapter 5, coming up on the close of V3, although Chapter 6 is pretty long as well. And then we'll be right back here next Sunday with more of SD Gundam G Generation Genesis, where we will close out Battlefield Record 0081 and possibly get started on Stardust Memory 0083, depending on how long that takes. Until then, I've been Bograt.
I've been Krampus.
I've been Shiv.
And I'm Vincent.
Have a good one, everyone.
Goodbye.